The Forbidden Blade is freed for a long time. No one stepped foot on planet Xion. The old maps called it cursed. The Galactic Council marked it off-limits. Even bounty hunters and treasure seekers stayed away. But today, something had changed. Small ship flew through the dark clouds of Xion's sky. It was broken, burning from the side and falling fast. Inside the ship, a human named Riven Cole held the controls tightly. His eyes were wide with panic. "Come on, just a little longer," he whispered to the ship. The engines gave one last scream before the ship crashed into the rocky ground. Smoke rose from the wreck, but somehow, Riven survived. He climbed out, coughing and shaking. He looked around. The land was cold and dead. Black mountains surrounded him. No animals, no wind, only silence. Riven was a young explorer from Earth. He had joined a crew to explore uncharted systems, but during a mission, his ship was attacked by pirates. He had escaped in a small pod and ended up here, on the most feared planet in the galaxy. "Lucky me," he said with a dry laugh. He checked his gear, grabbed a light, and started walking. He needed shelter, food, maybe even a way to call for help. After walking for an hour, he saw something strange. Giant doors stood in the side of a mountain. They were made of black stone with silver symbols glowing on them. Something ancient, something powerful. Riven felt pulled toward them. "This wasn't on any map," he muttered. As he stepped closer, the air grew colder. His hand touched the door. It was warm. And then, the doors opened on their own. Inside was a wide chamber. Dust floated in the air. Strange statues lined the walls. They looked like warriors from different alien races, frozen in fear, all kneeling toward the center. And in the middle, a sword. It floated above a stone, glowing faintly blue. It looked simple, but there was something about it. Something alive. Riven stepped forward slowly. He didn't mean to touch it. He just wanted a closer look. But the moment he reached out, the sword flew into his hand. A flash of light filled the chamber. His head screamed with voices. Not words, but feelings. Pain. War. Power. Hunger. Then silence. Riven fell to his knees, gasping. "What? What is this?" he whispered. The sword pulsed with light. And then it spoke. Not out loud, but inside his mind. "You have freed me." Riven's heart pounded. "Who are you?" "I am the Blade of the End, once used to defeat the star gods, sealed by the tribes, forbidden to rise again." He tried to drop it, but his hand wouldn't let go. "You are chosen. The first in 10,000 years who dares touch me." "I didn't mean to," Riven shouted. "I didn't choose anything." The ground shook. Outside the chamber, something in the sky roared. A pulse spread across the stars. An energy wave. Sensors across the galaxy picked it up. Old machines in deep space blinked back to life. And far away, in a dark prison, something opened its eyes. He is awake. On Xion, Riven stumbled out of the temple. The blade was still in his hand. He looked up. The sky was no longer quiet. Ships were moving above the clouds. Strange symbols glowed brighter on the mountains. Riven didn't understand any of it, but deep inside he felt it. He had done something big. The sword whispered again, softer this time. "They will come now. The tribes, the hunters, and the devourer. You have started the war of the tribes once again." Riven looked around, trying to think of a plan. "Great," he said, breathing fast. "I just wanted to survive. And now I've awakened a galactic war." The blade pulsed as if laughing. "Run, human. The galaxy remembers me. And soon, they will remember you." The ancient warning, the stars were no longer silent. Far above planet Xion, ancient satellites, long thought dead, suddenly blinked to life. Systems across the galaxy began to stir. Machines that hadn't moved in 1,000 years now hummed quietly. Warnings flashed across forgotten control panels in languages no one spoke anymore. Something old had awakened, and every tribe felt it. On the frozen world of Cryo 9, a Thrax warrior dropped to his knees. The ground shook beneath him as ancient carvings on the ice began to glow red. In the great forests of Navaran, the tree elders of the Virulans wept silently as the leaves turned black for the first time in history. Far away, the metal towers of the Zyrian Empire began to send emergency signals. Even they, proud, cruel, and cold, felt fear. They all knew the signs. The forbidden blade had been touched. On Xeon, Riven Cole walked through the dead mountain paths. The sword still clung to his hand, pulsing softly with light like a heartbeat that wasn't his. He hadn't slept. He hadn't eaten, but the blade wouldn't let him stop. "You must reach the mirror vault," it whispered in his mind. "What? Is that? Where is it?" Riven asked aloud, hoping it would answer in words this time. "Answers wait there, warnings, and your first test." Riven was tired, lost, angry. He didn't ask for any of this. He didn't want to be a chosen one. He just wanted to go home. But deep inside, part of him was starting to feel something, else a strange pull, a quiet rage. After hours of climbing, Riven found a strange opening in the mountain, smooth, unnatural. Inside was a narrow tunnel lit by blue fire. At the end, a door made of silver crystal. The blade pulsed again. "Place me in the center." Riven stepped forward and slowly touched the blade to the crystal. The door opened with a deep sound like a giant heartbeat. Inside was the mirror vault. The room was round, covered in reflective glass. Hundreds of floating screens showed scenes from across the galaxy, wars, leaders, planets, people. But one screen, larger than the rest, showed only a face. Riven stepped closer. It was his face, but older, colder, cruel. The blade spoke once more. "You must see what they fear." The mirror flickered, and suddenly, Riven was no longer in the vault. He stood in a different world. Stars burned around him. Cities floated in the sky. Alien armies marched behind him, cheering. The blade in his hand was burning red with power, and ahead of him were the 7 Galactic Tribes, kneeling, surrendering. But this wasn't a victory. The sky cracked open, and from it came a shadow so large, so ancient, it made even the stars flicker. The Devourer, its voice was like thunder. "You bring them together, so I may eat them whole," Riven screamed. The vision shattered. He fell to his knees in the vault, shaking, sweating, eyes wide with terror. What was that? "A warning," the blade said. "You are not just chosen to unite them. You are chosen because you are the key to destroying them, or saving them." Riven stood slowly. His hands shook, his mind raced. "You said I was chosen, but why a human? We're weak compared to them. We're nothing out here." The blade's voice darkened. "Because only a human can carry the paradox. Mercy and war, peace and destruction, hope and fear. That is why they fear you." Outside the vault, the ground began to shake again. Ships were descending. Someone had found him. A message echoed through the mountain, broadcast from above. "This is Commander Drell of the Thrax Swarm. We know what you carry. Surrender the blade and we will give you a quick death." Riven's heart raced. He didn't even know how to fight. He didn't know how to use the blade. But there was no time. The door burst open behind him. 6 Thrax warriors stormed in, tall, armored, insect-like. They hissed as they saw the human. Riven raised the blade. "Don't come closer." They laughed. One jumped forward. Riven didn't move. But the blade did. It pulled his arm on its own, fast, smooth, deadly. A flash of light. The Thrax dropped dead. The others stepped back, hissing in fear. Riven was breathing hard. The blade hummed. "You see? You are not weak. You are not nothing." The remaining Thrax ran. Riven stood alone in the vault, blood on the floor, fear in his heart, and something new growing inside. Power. He looked up at the mirror again. His reflection still stared back, older, colder, dangerous. He turned away, but the reflection did not. Far away in the center of the galaxy, the Galactic Council watched the same vision. A council leader whispered in horror, "The blade has chosen, and it chose a human." The Xerian ambassador stood slowly. "Then we are already at war." Allies in the shadows, the smoke of Xeon still clung to Riven Cole's jacket as he drifted alone in space. He sat inside a stolen escape pod, cold and silent, watching the stars pass by. The blade rested beside him, quiet for the first time since it had awakened. Outside, the pod floated through dead zones, regions without satellites, signals, or light. No ships, no life. Only forgotten wreckage and silent ghosts of old wars. Riven didn't know where he was going. He had no plan. He only knew one thing. The galaxy had turned against him. In the center of the galaxy, the Galactic Council held an emergency meeting. The air inside the chamber was thick with fear. "The human must be eliminated," said the Xerian ambassador. His voice was calm but deadly. "Before the tribes begin to follow him." "We cannot act too soon," whispered the elder of the virulence. "He holds the blade. If we push too hard, we may create the very war we fear." But the Thrax delegate slammed the table. "He has already killed. He has drawn first blood. If he lives, the devourer rises." From the shadows of the chamber, a new voice echoed. "Send her." A few members turned toward the voice. "You mean her? The exile?" "Yes," the Xerian leader smiled. "She was trained to stop him, long before he even existed." 3 days passed. Riven's pod finally dropped out of drift space. A strange planet loomed ahead, half jungle, half ruins. The pod beeped, fuel low, oxygen critical. "Great," Riven muttered. "Another mystery planet." He crashed again, though softer this time. The ship hissed as it cooled. Outside, green mist moved through ancient trees. Metal statues peeked through the vines. Riven grabbed the blade, his only weapon, and stepped into the unknown. The jungle was alive, but quiet. Too quiet. He walked, for hours following broken roads and power lines. Then he saw her. A tall figure stood near a broken tower. Not human, not alien. Something between. She wore a cloak made of shadows and wires. Her face was hidden by a mask that blinked with symbols. She didn't reach for a weapon, she only spoke. "You're late." Riven froze. "Do I know you?" "No," she said. "But I've known you since you were born." Her name was Mila. Once she had been a brilliant scientist working for the Galactic Council. But when she discovered the truth about the blade, they erased her records and hunted her down. Now she lived in the ruins, hiding from the same leaders she once served. "The blade chose you," she said, leading Riven through the jungle. "That means the prophecies are real, and the galaxy is in danger." "So I've heard," Riven said. "Everyone either wants to kill me or kneel. I'm tired of both." They entered a hidden lab deep underground. Machines came to life as she stepped inside. Screens showed maps of galactic territory. Red dots spread like infection. "The tribes are divided," Mila explained. "But they are watching you. Some will try to kill you, others will try to use you, but a few might follow you." Riven frowned. "I don't want to lead anyone." "It doesn't matter what you want," she said softly. "You were born into this, and you're already changing." He looked at his reflection in a broken screen. His eyes, once a soft brown, now glowed faintly blue. Mila showed him more. Holograms of past wielders of the blade. Every single one ended in war. "The blade feeds on conflict," she warned. "If you lose control, it will use you." "How do I stop it?" "You can't stop it," she said. "But maybe you can redirect it." That night, as Riven rested, the blade whispered again, "She lies." Riven sat up. "About what?" "She served the council once. She helped seal me. She fears me." He looked at Mila, sleeping in the corner of the room, gun by her side. He didn't know who to trust. But the galaxy wouldn't wait. Outside, silent ships landed in the forest. Black-armored soldiers crept through the trees. A voice echoed through their comms. Capture the human. Kill the exile. Retrieve the blade. Riven woke to the sound of glass breaking. Mila was already up, loading a plasma rifle. They found us, she said. How? Riven shouted. You brought the blade here. Its signal never really sleeps. They ran through the tunnels as explosions shook the walls. Mila handed Riven a small device. This is a jump key. It'll get you off this planet. What about you? She didn't answer. The roof collapsed behind them. Soldiers closed in. Mila turned back and fired. Go, Riven. If they take the blade, the galaxy burns. Riven hesitated, then jumped. Through the exit hatch, the blade screamed in his head. She lied. She would have killed me. You are the only true wielder. As the ship lifted off, Riven looked down. The jungle burned. Mila was gone. In the void of space, he stared at the stars. He had no allies now, but he had something else. A purpose. Deep in the shadows of an asteroid base, a man watched the chaos unfold. He wore black armor. Half of his face was cybernetic, and in his hand was a second blade. Little brother, he said, smiling coldly. You're finally waking up. Blood ties and betrayal, the stars never lied. They only waited. On the cold edge of the Osari belt, far from any known trade routes, a dark figure stood alone on the deck of a drifting warship. His armor was marked with deep scars. Red lights blinked beneath his skin. Half his face was metal built from war and pain. He watched a glowing screen showing Riven Cole's face. The man smiled bitterly. He finally woke up, he said to himself. Behind him, a young pilot cleared her throat nervously. Commander, is it really him? The man's smile faded. He's my brother. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, Riven Cole stood on the edge of an abandoned spaceport, watching a storm build over the desert planet of Calrus. He had escaped the last ambush barely alive. His body was tired, his mind even more so. But the blade refused to let him rest. Your blood calls to us, it whispered. Riven didn't answer. He had begun to ignore its voice, though it was never truly silent. As lightning flashed above, a signal beeped from his stolen comlink. It was encrypted. Old code, Earth code, a voice spoke, quiet but clear. Riven, if you're hearing this, I need to tell you the truth, about your past, about our family. Meet me at Sector 9 on Calrus. Come alone. Dax. Riven froze. He hadn't heard that name in years. Dax Cole, his older brother, killed in action, presumed dead, or so the official report said. But deep down, Riven had never truly believed it. He followed the coordinates. The meeting place was a broken mining station swallowed by the sand. Inside, the lights flickered weakly. Old mining bots twitched in the dark. Then footsteps. Riven turned. A tall man stepped out of the shadows. Black armor, red eyes, cybernetic implants across his skull. It was Dax, but not the Dax. Riven remembered. Hello, little brother, Dax said. Riven stared in shock. You're alive. Barely, Dax replied, his voice like gravel. The council left me to die, then rebuilt me to hunt people like you. Riven narrowed his eyes. Like me? Chosen ones, Dax said bitterly. I was trained to kill anyone who touched the blade. Why? Because the blade doesn't choose heroes, Dax said coldly. It chooses chaos. Every wielder before you started wars. Millions died. Maybe I'm different. You're not. And I'm here to end this before it begins. Dax pulled a second blade from his back, twisted, dark, unstable, the twin, to Riven's sword. Lightning exploded in the sky as the brothers circled each other. You were my hero once, Riven said quietly. And now I'm your shadow, Dax replied. Then he attacked. Metal clashed against light. The ground shook beneath them. The two blades screamed as they met, energy cracking through the station walls. Riven fought hard, but Dax was stronger, faster, trained by machines and war. You don't even know what you're carrying, Dax shouted mid-fight. The blade remembers every death it caused, and it will use your pain to feed itself. Riven was pushed back. Then help me stop it, he yelled. Dax paused. His face flickered. Some memory. Something soft. Something human. But only for a second. There's only one way to stop it, Dax said coldly. He raised his blade to strike. Suddenly, an explosion rocked the chamber. Metal beams fell from above. Sand poured in. Someone had followed them. A third presence arrived. Unknown ships descending from the sky. Zyrian hunters. They tracked you, Dax shouted. Me? Riven snapped. They tracked you. The hunters stormed the base, firing plasma blasts. Riven and Dax both took cover, still breathing hard from the fight. Dax looked at Riven, furious. This isn't over. He threw a smoke capsule and vanished into the chaos. Riven escaped through a side tunnel. The blade pulsed with heat in his hand. His anger will return. He is not your enemy. Yet. What does that mean? Riven asked out loud, frustrated. Your brother walks the line between order and ruin. And like you, his future is not written. Later, Riven found a hidden cave beneath the surface of Calrus. He collapsed inside, exhausted, bleeding. A fire flickered. Beside him, a voice came from the shadows. You survived the exile, and the brother. Impressive. Riven stood quickly, blade raised. A new figure stepped out, an alien, tall and silver-skinned, wearing robes marked with ancient tribal runes. I am Kale, he said, leader of the fourth tribe, the Watchers. Riven stared. Why are you here? Because we've seen what's coming, and unlike the others, we don't want you dead. We want to help. Riven narrowed his eyes. Why would you help me? Kyle smiled sadly. Because you are not just the blade's chosen, you are hers too. Whose? Kale's eyes turned dark. The Devourers. Rise of the Devourer. The galaxy had known fear before. Wars, plagues, extinction-level weapons. Yes. But this was different. This wasn't fear. This was remembering. Remembering something ancient. Something buried so deep that even time itself forgot how to whisper its name. And now, it remembered itself. Across a dying system on the outer rim, a black star collapsed without warning. Its light vanished in less than a second. No radiation, no trace. Just gone. Observatories across. The galaxy watched in silence, and then 2 more stars vanished. Somewhere in deep space, in a forgotten prison built before the birth of the Galactic Council, a cell door opened. Not with force, not with violence. It simply unlocked. Inside that prison, floating in the void, was the Devourer. It had no shape. Not truly. It wore the form of a creature only when needed, but in its natural state it was hunger made real, and now it was free. Riven Cole awoke in the mountain base of the fourth tribe, the Watchers. Kale, the tribe leader, stood at the edge of a platform overlooking glowing data screens and ancient, carved tablets. You said she chose me, Riven said, still groggy. You meant the Devourer? Kyle nodded slowly. Long ago she was not what she is now. Once she was a guardian, of balance, of time, of death. So what changed? We did, Kyle said. The tribes turned against one another. We built machines, gods, weapons. We broke the sky and poisoned the stars, and when we did, she broke too. Kale showed Riven a vision, projected through crystal dust. It showed the tribes long ago building the 7 great relics of unity. One of them, the blade, but they did not build it to save. They built it to seal her. The blade was not made to fight the Devourer, Kale whispered. It was made to trap her inside a human soul. Riven stepped back, chilled. Inside me? Yes. And now that you carry it, she can see again. Feel again. Riven felt his chest tighten. So that's why the blade felt alive. So that's why the Devourer hadn't returned until now. He was the doorway. Meanwhile, in a distant council chamber, panic had replaced politics. Reports came in by the second. Stars collapsing, space turning black, ships disappearing without a trace. The Zyrian warlord slammed his fists on the table. We told you, the blade is not a weapon, it's a curse. But no one could speak, because now they all saw it. On a live transmission from deep space, a scout ship broadcast its final moments. It showed a massive, shifting figure. Something wrong with the laws of physics themselves. Floating through the void, the ship screamed. Then the screen went black. Back on Calrus, Riven sat alone on a balcony, staring up at the stars. He could feel it. The emptiness moving, the hunger growing. The blade whispered again. She has tasted the stars, and now she remembers her name. What name? Riven whispered. The blade paused, then spoke, almost with reverence. Catharoon, the Star Eater, the Mother of Silence. A sudden alarm blared through the base. Kale rushed in. Zyrian forces are dropping troops outside the valley. They've found us. Riven stood up, heart pounding. How? Your brother, Kale said. He turned you in. Outside, battle broke out. Explosions lit up the sky. Ancient machines of the Watchers roared to life. Part magic, part tech. Riven fought beside them, the blade alive with blue fire. But as the fight raged, something worse happened. The sky opened, not with light, with nothing. Above the battlefield, space itself folded inward. A black crack tore through reality. Something enormous moved behind it. A voice thundered, not in ears but in bones. Child of the blade, I remember you. Everyone, warriors, soldiers, pilots, fell to their knees. Some screamed, some wept, some simply stopped breathing. She had arrived. Riven stood alone now, the blade glowing brighter than ever. How do I stop this? He shouted to the sky. No answer. But Kale limped beside him, blood on his robes. You can't stop it, Riven, he said. But you can buy us time. How? Unite the tribes. All of them. Make them see. Make them believe. Only unity can forge the prison again. Riven clenched his fists. And if they don't listen? Kyle smiled faintly, even in pain. Then you die. And the galaxy ends. Far away, hidden in the dark, Dax Cole watched the sky tear open. He felt something twist inside him. For the first time in years, he was afraid. The battle of unity. The stars bled quietly. Across the galactic rim, nebulae flickered as though gasping for air. Some called it cosmic decay. Some whispered a darker truth. She was feeding. Catharoon, the devourer, had not returned with fire or ships. She had returned as hunger itself, and she would not stop until everything was gone. Riven Cole stood at the edge of the Watcher's stronghold, watching the sky tear. Black rifts twisted across the heavens. Tiny stars vanished every few hours. Entire systems were now just empty. The blade pulsed in his hand. It had changed. No longer just a weapon. It was now something else. It felt heavier, older, more alive. He knew why. She was watching through it. We're out of time, Kyle said, stepping beside him. Then we move, Riven replied. We gather the tribes, all of them. Now. Kale frowned. They won't listen. Then I'll make them listen. What followed was the most dangerous journey of Riven's life. With the Watchers at his side and the blade in his hand, he flew from system to system, tribe to tribe, risking ambush, war, and betrayal, to unite the 7 great powers of the galaxy. He spoke in their language. He showed them the blade. He showed them the stars vanishing. He spoke not as a human, but as the one carrying the last hope. The Virellans joined him first, telepathic peacekeepers who had once sealed the blade themselves. They sensed truth in his mind, and something else, fear deeper than words. He has seen the end, one of them said, and he still walks toward it. Then came the Thrax, the insectoid warriors who had once tried to kill him. He didn't come with threats. He came with their dead. In a silent ritual, he returned the bodies of the warriors slain on Xeon. The Thrax war matriarch accepted them, then looked him in the eye. "You carry death," she said, "but not dishonor." They joined. Even the Zurians, cold, proud, cruel, eventually listened, not to Riven, but to his brother. Dax Cole appeared during a tense standoff above the Zurian world of Yelkar Prime. He walked alone into their court. His face was still half machine, but his voice trembled. "I was built to kill him," Dax said. "I failed," he paused, "but maybe failing was the only human thing I've done in years." The Zyrians, stunned by such honesty, agreed to a temporary alliance. With every tribe united, the Great Fleet was born. Ships from across the galaxy, side by side for the first time in over 1,000 years. They called it the Convergence, and they gathered above a dead star, where Catharun was last seen. "She will not fight us like an enemy," Riven said, standing before the fleet. "She will consume our minds. She will break our unity. That's what she fears most." The commanders nodded. It was time. The battle began without warning. The sky twisted open like paper, and she came through. She didn't need ships. She didn't need weapons. Her body was a massive shadow stretching across light years. She spoke, not with sound but with memory. Each commander saw their worst fear. Each soldier felt their worst pain. Entire squadrons turned against themselves. Ships crashed. Minds shattered. Unity began to break. But then, one voice cut through the madness. Riven's, broadcast from the heart of the flagship. "Listen to me. You're not alone. You're not your pain. She's feeding on it. Fight it." He opened the blade. Light poured out like a second sun. And for a moment, silence. The tribes focused. Their ships moved in perfect sync. Riven and Dax fought side by side on the command vessel, cutting through corrupted drones pouring in from the rift. Kale guided the Watcher's machines, half-living titans that walked. On Void, the Virelans linked the minds of every soldier, forming a shared will strong enough to resist her whisper. The Thrax detonated their sacred war cores, creating a blast that carved a hole in Catharun's form, and the Zyrians did what they were best at. They did not blink. Riven reached the core of the rift where the Devourer's heart pulsed, a sphere of black fire surrounded by broken time. "Can it be sealed again?" he asked the blade. The blade answered softly, "Yes, but the prison must be made from one who understands all the tribes." Riven looked back at his allies. All of them had given something, and then he looked at Dax. His brother was bleeding, wounded, but still standing. "No," Dax said, reading his thoughts. "Don't you dare. You were always stronger," Riven said. "But this was my burden." He raised the blade high. Catharun screamed. Riven dove into the core. The blade split into fragments, each flying into the hands of a different tribal leader. The light burst outward. The void collapsed. The Devourer was sealed again. But Riven was gone. All across the galaxy, silence returned, not empty, not dead, peaceful. And far below the stars, in a quiet temple now built on Xeon, a young child stared at a glowing stone. It pulsed once, softly, and somewhere, a voice whispered, "He will return." The last stand of humanity, the galaxy was quiet. Stars burned softly again. Rifts had closed. The Devourer, Catharun, was sealed, and the name Riven Cole became legend. Temples were built. Stories were told. His blade, now split into 7 pieces, rested in shrines across the 7 tribes, symbols of unity. Children learned his name as the human who ended the hunger in the stars. But peace is never permanent, because the seal was not perfect. 15 years later, on a distant moon where no wind blew and no sun rose, a crack formed in the rock. A thin black mist began to rise, almost too faint to see. It whispered across space. One of the seals had weakened. Deep within the Galactic Archive temple, alarms began to pulse. Ancient watchers rushed to the sacred chamber where the fourth shard of the blade had begun to shake violently. Elders exchanged glances, their minds filled with dread. It's happening again. In the skies above Earth, once forgotten by the galaxy, a small craft broke through orbit. Inside sat a girl, 17 years old. Brown skin, short dark hair, strange blue marks glowing under her eyes. She didn't know her real name, but she had dreams of stars, of blades, of fire. Her adoptive mother called her Nova, but the dreams called her something else. Air. Nova had grown up on Earth, far away from the tribal systems. She didn't know the galaxy had once nearly died. She didn't know who Riven Cole was, until now, because a message had arrived. From an unknown source. 4 words. Come to Xeon. Now. The planet Xeon, long sealed and guarded by treaties, now opened once again. The shrine built in Riven's honor flickered with strange lights. Inside it something waited. Nova stepped onto the surface of Xeon. The ground pulsed beneath her feet. Inside the shrine, the walls lit up, recognizing her. A hologram formed in the air. Riven Cole. His voice was soft. Older. Recorded just before his final battle. If you're seeing this, then the seal is breaking. Again. And that means only one thing. You are like me. Nova's hands trembled. You have to gather the shards. Find the 7 tribes. Prove that unity still exists. And if you can't, then this time the Devourer won't just take stars, it will take memory itself. And Nova, if they fear you, if they try to stop you, remember this. You are human, and that is your greatest weapon. The hologram faded. Behind it, a new blade emerged, half-formed, glowing with 7 empty slots. The reforging had begun. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the collapsed rift, something stirred. Not Catharun, not fully, but something she had left behind. A wound in space, still bleeding. From it came beings without form. Dark reflections of those who had died in the last war. Some called them the Forgotten. They could mimic voices, memories, even faces, and their goal was simple. Break unity. Break the blade. Unseal the hunger. Nova's journey began quietly, but word spread fast. A child with the human bloodline had returned, and she carried the heart of the blade. Some tribes offered help, some tried to stop her, and one tribe, the Zyrian, offered a weapon. We failed your ancestor, the warlord said, but you might be worse. We will give you this only once. He gave her the last file recovered from the final battle of Riven Cole. It was corrupted, broken. But one word stood out. Dax. Nova's path took her into ancient vaults, broken alliances, and one final truth. Riven had not died. His body had disappeared, but his soul had fused with the prison itself. He was now part of the blade, alive inside it, and he was watching her. The final battle came faster than anyone expected. Above the binary system of Zirna, where the last shard pulsed with unstable energy, the Forgotten arrived. Dark creatures, made of memory and pain. They spoke with Riven's voice, with Kale's, even Dax's. They tried to break Nova's mind. You are just a shadow, they whispered. A child. A mistake. Nova fell to her knees, but inside her chest, the blade. Pulsed Riven's voice came through one last time. You are more than memory. You are choice. Make one. Nova stood up, and in that moment, all 7 shards flew to her. The blade completed itself, and she became the light. The final strike was not a war. It was a reminder. Nova showed the galaxy that humans were not powerful because of weapons or tech. They were powerful because they never stopped rising, no matter how many times they were crushed. They stood again. The Forgotten vanished. The rift closed. The Devourer's hunger faded once more. Years later, a new council formed, not led by tribes, but by voices from every world, human and alien alike, and at its center stood a single symbol, Glowing blade buried in crystal, never to be drawn again. Nova disappeared after that. No one knows where she went. Some say she walks the stars. Some say she guards the prison in silence. And some say she left a message, just like Riven once did. 4. Words I will return to.